Friday night, your phone buzzes. Party at Jake's tomorrow, you coming? And somewhere in your chest, before you even finish reading, there's this sinking feeling. Not excitement, not curiosity, just exhaustion at the thought of it. So you do what you always do. You start crafting the excuse. Maybe you're not feeling well. Maybe something came up. Maybe you just won't respond until it's too late to matter. And the whole time, there's this quiet voice asking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? I spent years asking myself that same question. Turns out I was asking the wrong one. For decades, psychology had one answer for people like us. Something's broken. Fix it, be more social, put yourself out there, stop being so, or whatever we are. But recent research flipped that narrative completely, and what scientists found might finally explain why you've never felt quite right in a world that won't stop talking. There's a difference most people never think about, the difference between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is a wound. It's sitting in a room full of people and feeling like you're watching them through glass. It's laughing at jokes you don't find funny because silence feels more dangerous. It's that ache in your chest at 2 a.m. when you realize nobody really knows you. Not the real you. Being alone, that's something else entirely. Being alone can feel like finally taking off shoes that have been too tight all day. Like the first breath after holding it underwater. Like coming home to a house where nobody needs anything from you. One is absence, the other might be presence. Presence with yourself. But for decades, psychology couldn't tell the difference. Everyone who preferred solitude got lumped into the same worried category. Introverts, loners, antisocial. That last label especially, as if enjoying your own company was the first chapter of every crime documentary. He kept to himself, didn't have many friends, should have seen it coming. We turned quietness into a warning sign, and millions of people internalized that message. In 2016, researchers at the University of Buffalo asked a question that sounds obvious, but somehow nobody had properly investigated before. They asked, what if some people just prefer being alone, not running from something, not hiding from trauma, not scared of rejection, just genuinely, honestly happier in their own company? They gave it a name, unsociability. Now, this isn't antisocial. Antisocial means you want to harm people, disrupt things, cause damage. That's hostility. And it's not avoidant. Avoidant means you desperately want connection, but you're terrified of it. You push people away before they can reject you. That's fear wearing a mask. Unsociability is neither. It's simply preferring solitude, the way some people prefer tea over coffee. Not because coffee hurt them, not because they're afraid of coffee. They just like tea better. When researchers studied people with genuine unsociability, they expected to find problems: loneliness, depression, social dysfunction. Instead, they found something that confused them. These people were fine, more than fine. They reported lower anxiety than average, higher creativity, a stronger sense of knowing who they actually were. They weren't surviving despite their solitude. They were thriving because of it. So, what's actually happening inside someone who genuinely enjoys being alone? Why does their brain work this way? It starts with dopamine. You've heard of it, the reward chemical, the thing that makes you feel good. Extroverts need a lot of stimulation to get their dopamine hit. Conversations, parties, energy from other people. It's like fuel for them. Without it, they feel flat, restless, like something's missing from the day. People who prefer solitude, their dopamine system is more sensitive. They hit their enough threshold faster, way faster. Think of it like volume. An extrovert needs the music at 8 to feel anything. Someone who loves solitude, They're comfortable at 3. It's not that they can't handle loud. Loud just feels like too much. Overwhelming, exhausting in a way that's hard to explain to people who need the noise. This isn't weakness, this isn't damage. It's just different wiring. The same way some people need pitch darkness to sleep while others fall asleep with the TV on. Neither is broken, neither is wrong. Just different operating systems running on different settings. But there's another piece to this, the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for deep thinking, complex problem solving, self-reflection, the part that lets you sit with an idea and actually develop it instead of bouncing to the next shiny thing. In people who prefer solitude, this region lights up during alone time. They're not just sitting there doing nothing. Their minds are working, processing, connecting dots that get missed when there's constant external input, drowning out the internal signal. This explains something historians have noticed for centuries. Breakthroughs don't happen in crowded rooms. Einstein developed his theory of relativity while working as a patent clerk. Alone at his desk, running thought experiments entirely inside his own head. No brainstorming sessions, no team meetings, no collaboration software pinging every 3 minutes. Newton made his greatest discoveries during the Great Plague of 1665. Everyone fled London. He went to his family's farm and spent 18 months in near total isolation. That's when calculus happened. That's when gravity happened. Not despite the solitude, because of it. Virginia Woolf wrote an entire essay about this, A Room of One's Own. She argued that creative work requires solitude the way fire requires oxygen. Without it, the flame goes out. Maya Angelou understood this so deeply she would rent hotel rooms just to write. She had a house, a perfectly good home, but she needed somewhere with no phone, no visitors, no interruptions. Just her and the page. That's where her words found their power. Nikola Tesla, the inventor responsible for the electrical systems powering the world you're living in right now, was famously solitary. He said something I think about often: be alone, that is the secret of invention. Be alone, that is when ideas are born. And it's not just historical figures. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors alive, spends roughly 80% of his working hours reading and thinking. Alone, Bill Gates takes what he calls think weeks. He disappears into a cabin with nothing but books and papers, no meetings, no emails, just thought. These aren't antisocial people hiding from life. These are people who understood something about how their minds work best. Now I need to pause here, because I know what some of you are doing right now. You're nodding along thinking, yes, this is me, I'm like Einstein, I'm one of these creative, solitary geniuses, and everyone who told me to be more social was wrong. And maybe you are. But maybe you're not. Because there's a question that matters more than whether you enjoy being alone. The question is, why do you enjoy it? This is where I have to be honest about something uncomfortable, something I had to face myself. Some people choose solitude. They walk toward it. It fills them up. Other people hide in solitude. They're not walking toward anything. They're running away from rejection, from judgment, from the terrifying vulnerability of actually being known by another person. And from the outside, these two things look identical. Someone alone in their room, someone cancelling plans, someone preferring a quiet night in. But inside, they feel completely different. Abraham Maslow, the psychologist who studied human potential, made this distinction decades ago. He said healthy solitude comes from abundance. You enjoy being alone because you've experienced real connection, and you know you can have it again. You're not running from people, you're running toward yourself. Unhealthy solitude comes from scarcity. You're alone because being with people hurts, because you've been rejected enough times, because it's easier to avoid than to try. The walls you've built aren't protecting anything, they're trapping you. So the question isn't, do I like being alone? The question is, what happens when I imagine letting someone in? If the answer is excitement, curiosity, openness, you're probably in that healthy zone. Your solitude is recharging you. But if the answer is fear, resistance, a clenched feeling in your chest, that might be worth looking at. Not because you're broken, but because armor gets heavy and walls eventually become prisons. Be honest with yourself right now. Type 1 in the comments if you genuinely choose solitude because it fills you up. Type 0 if you're starting to realize it might be something you're hiding behind. No judgment, just honesty. For those of you in that first category, for the ones who genuinely thrive alone, there's something paradoxical you've probably discovered without realizing it. You might actually be better at relationships than people who can't stand being alone. Research from Dr. Bella DePaulo at UC Santa Barbara found something counterintuitive. People who embrace solitude, particularly single people who aren't desperately searching for partnership, often have stronger connections with friends, family, and community than people who are constantly surrounded by others. How does that make sense? Because they're not trying to get all their emotional needs met by one person. They're not clinging, they're not draining. Every connection they make is a choice, not a desperate grasp at something they can't provide for themselves. Think about the last time you were exhausted, really depleted, running on empty. What kind of friend were you? What kind of partner? What kind of listener? You weren't present, you were enduring, counting minutes, giving people the scraps of whatever energy you had left, resenting them for needing things from you when you had nothing to give. Now think about a time when you were rested, centered, full. How different were those same relationships? The quality of your solitude directly shapes the quality of your connection. People who understand this aren't worse at relationships. They're often better because when they show up, they actually show up. Not a depleted version going through the motions. There's something else people who thrive alone understand, something our culture desperately needs to hear. Being alone is not the same as being incomplete. Listen to how we talk about relationships. My other half, my better half, you complete me. We've built this entire mythology that humans are broken pieces wandering around desperately searching for the missing part that makes them whole. People who genuinely enjoy solitude have looked at that story and said, actually no, I'm not half of anything, I'm already whole. And this isn't arrogance, it's not, I don't need anyone. It's something deeper, it's the recognition that another person can add to your life, enrich it, make it more colorful, more interesting, more fun. But they don't complete you. You are never incomplete. When you enter relationships from this place, everything changes. You stop accepting treatment you don't deserve because you're terrified of being alone. You stop abandoning yourself to keep someone else comfortable. You stop losing your identity inside another person because you actually know who you are when nobody else is in the room. That's not isolation, that's foundation. I want to tell you about something that shifted my perspective. In Japan, there's a word, hitori. It means doing things alone. And unlike in the West, it's not pitied, it's celebrated. There are restaurants designed specifically for solo diners, individual booths where you can eat without the pressure of conversation or the sideways glances from people wondering what's wrong with you. Movie theaters with single seats that don't make you feel like the odd one out. Entire cultural practices built around the idea that sometimes you need to exist only with yourself. They have solo karaoke booths. Think about that. They've made singing alone in a soundproof room a legitimate, respected activity. You walk in, sing your heart out to an audience of no one, and walk out without a single person thinking it's sad. Meanwhile, in the West, if you eat lunch alone, people ask if you're okay. Like solitude is a symptom of something wrong. Oh, are you waiting for someone? No, I'm not waiting. I arrived. The difference isn't that Japanese people are less social. They're not. The difference is they've normalized something we've pathologized. They understand that solitude isn't absence, it's presence. Presence with yourself. So where does this leave you? If you're someone who genuinely loves being alone, who feels restored by solitude rather than trapped in it, I want you to hear this clearly. you are not broken. You're not antisocial. You're not one step away from whatever cautionary tale people imagine when they think about quiet people. Your brain is wired to find peace in places others find emptiness. That's not a flaw. In a world that never stops making noise, it might be a gift. The world needs people who can sit with themselves, who can think without constant input, who know the difference between connection and codependency, who can exist in silence without immediately reaching for their phone to fill it. But make sure you know the difference. Make sure your solitude is a home and not a hiding place. Can you connect when you want to? Do you have people you trust? Are you walking towards solitude or running from something else? Because the healthiest version of this isn't isolation. It's choice. It's knowing you could be with people and choosing yourself. Not because people are bad, but because you're worth being with too. Next time someone asks why you're always alone, why you cancelled plans again, why you'd rather stay home than go to that party, you don't owe them an explanation. But if you want to give one, you could tell them about dopamine sensitivity and prefrontal cortex activity. You could mention the research, the historical geniuses, the cultural differences in how solitude is perceived. Or you could just say what's actually true. Because I like myself. That tends to end the conversation. And honestly, that's the point. The people who matter will understand. They won't need you to justify your need for quiet. They'll respect it. They'll appreciate that when you do show up, you're fully there, not half present counting minutes until you can leave. And the people who don't understand, maybe they've never spent enough time alone to find out who they are without an audience. Maybe they're running from something they'd have to face in the silence. That's their journey. You have your own. Solitude isn't the opposite of connection. For some of us, it's what makes real connection possible. The most meaningful relationships in your life won't be threatened by your need for alone time. They'll be deeper because of it. If this finally put words to something you felt your whole life but couldn't explain, the videos on screen go deeper. They break down why you recharge the way you do and why your brain processes the world differently. I'll see you there.